topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio. Hello and welcome to It's Your Voice, the show that hosts enriching conversations in diversity. My name is Bahia Yaksan. I'm a core alignment coach and a diversity educator. And if you're interested in seeing the programs I can offer to help people align their values and their actions together, you can find my website at knowwhatyouwantcoaching.wordpress.com. Today, we're having an amazing show. Every year, we take time to honor and thank veterans on or near Veterans Day. This year, we'll be having other veterans on later. But usually we have a panel, but I wanted to focus this show on helping clarify issues that a lot of people are confused about right now, about the proper role of military branches and service. And again, as we do every year, express gratitude for the service and sacrifice veterans give, and also reinforce how much healing and support people who serve in combat especially deserve when they return home. And before I introduce our guest, who you will recognize when you've been following the show, I wanted to, again, we dedicate this show to my first cousin, Bobby, and who is my guest's uncle. I just want to read it but first, before I read the dedication, let's bring Richard Camille Kassem II out, please. And I'm going to, Richard, if I may, I'd like to read a little bit of your bio, and then thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's my privilege.
And then I want to let people know what our dear family member Bobby did in his service. So Richard Camille Kassem II is a retired lieutenant colonel, and we call him Rich Kassem. He's a retired infantry officer and a Middle East and North Africa Foreign Area officer. His last assignment was Arabian Peninsula Division Chief for the Joint Staff. In that capacity, he was advisor to the chairman of the Joint Staff, General Dunford, on military policy in the Arabian Peninsula. So that is a lot. And right now you're a senior instructor at a junior ROTC high school. Is that correct?
That's correct. So thank you, Bahia, for having me on again. I've enjoyed my previous panel sessions, and I have to say it's a privilege and a bit intimidating to be your only guest for the first time. But I will do my best to provide as much facts and information as I can to help people understand what's going on.
Thank you, and you always do. And thanks for being willing to let me take up this whole show with just being able to get some clarity from you. I mean, you instruct and you teach every day. You have a very important role, and you have so much integrity. I just really trust you as a resource, reliable information. So I want to, and also if I miss anything about your Uncle Bobby, I want to just say why we're dedicating the show to him. Please add, and then we'll start our conversation. So Bobby was a UH-1H helicopter pilot who served 18 months in Vietnam, transporting and extracting US and Vietnamese troops into and out of hot landing zones. He had extreme amount of courage as he had to hover while taking heavy enemy fire. Bobby won the Distinguished Flying Cross, 2 Bronze Stars for Valor, and 2 Air Medals for Valor. And it's with great sadness that I share that it was such a traumatic experience and just not enough support for people who served that he is no longer with us. Bobby suffered so much, he took his own life in his own hands, and we know he's not alone. And we are also going to provide a crisis number that our wonderful sound engineer will, there's our banner already. I'm going to just say this number now. Anybody who's listening who knows a veteran or who is a veteran who could use some support, one thing you can do is you can text 838-255. There's online chat available, veteranscrisisline.net. I'll say it again at the end. If you're able to view, you see the number on the screen, 1-800-273-8255. And you can press 1. So that's just very important to just name one resource. So back to you, Lieutenant Colonel Kassem. I don't know if you want to add any words to that.
Well, I just want to say, by way of introduction, that I come from a family where I have many relatives who served in the military. My brother and now my nephew are currently on active duty. My father served, and both of my grandfathers served, and of course Uncle Bobby, my father's brother, served. And while we have many happy memories of our military service, Uncle Bobby is a reminder of what can happen if soldiers or military people in general return from combat and don't receive the treatment and the care and the respect from their fellow citizens that they deserve. And unfortunately, as you and I both know, Uncle Bobby killed himself upon his return from Vietnam. He was not married and had no children, and he didn't have a support structure like my father did. My father was married, I was born, so he had a wife and a son. So please, if there's a veteran out there listening who is in crisis, please call the number or text the number that's scrolling on the screen below. And even if you're struggling but aren't in imminent crisis, then I encourage veterans to connect with their local VFW or American Legion or some other veteran support group, just to have someone to share and get information about services that are available to veterans. So I think that's very important. And of course, we would like to prevent any further veteran suicides, veteran homelessness, any of those issues. So I encourage you to reach out if you need help, and even if you just need a community to be a part of.
Thank you so much. That was so well put. Just having communities can make a big difference.
Yes, absolutely. I've been very fortunate to have been able to work with the VFW for several years now. Before I moved to Uniontown, Pennsylvania, I was the district commander of the Department of Pennsylvania District 12 for the VFW, and there's just so many resources available that the people don't realize until they reach out and connect. So the VFW, the American Legions. They have veteran service officers who can help you get the benefits that you deserve and provide you with resources if you need them. So we hope to see every veteran get all the benefits that they're entitled to, and of course prevent suicides and prevent help people recover from PTSD and other stresses that come with serving in combat.
Thank you for emphasizing that. I'm so glad you had support. I just wondered, I know you had your, like you said, family, and I know your grandfather had an honorable discharge. I think I just found that certificate.
I'm proud to say that all of my relatives who have served were honorably discharged. Yes, that it is part of the identity of my family, part of my own identity. I've had many relatives who served honorably in the military, and I'm proud to be among them.
And we're proud of you and all of them. Wow, I want to look at an outline because there's so many different directions we could go in, but I appreciate the direction of if you can share what you think we should know, because as let's just say, as an average American, referring to myself, there's so much we don't remember or we didn't learn about even basic civics, much less what are our military branches doing. There's just too much ignorance.
Right.
And it's really surfacing now.
Mhm.
So please share with us what you think it would be important for us to know about civil control of the military under the Constitution. I think I see people kind of looking at the Constitution again these days, and the need to exercise command of the military in a responsible way.
All right. Well, I know that some of your students are listening, and I hope that some of mine are as well. So without getting too technical, the framers of our Constitution were concerned about any one individual wielding too much power. So they decided that important decisions important decision making was a responsibility of Congress. Of course, there are hundreds of people in Congress in two houses, right? The Senate and the House of Representatives. And so congressional decision making is by design slow and deliberate. They also understood that some decisions are too cumbersome for many people to make. So in an emergency, then we need a single person who can make some decisions. So they divided up the power and the responsibilities, and they gave the power to declare war to conclude peace to the Congress. And so Congress gets to decide who our friends and enemies are. Right? They gave command of the military to the president. So what that means is that the professionals who fight and win our nation's wars don't decide who we fight. Right? They don't get to choose who their enemies are. So they determine how to prosecute the wars under the command of the president. This also means that we don't have a commander of the Army or a commander of the Navy or a commander of the military. We have chiefs of staff who coordinate the efforts of the military under the president. We have chiefs of staff who coordinate their efforts under the chairman of the Joint Staff, who provides his best military advice to the president. Now, we call this civilian control of the military. Now, the president and Congress and the military have to follow certain rules that are set forth originally by the Constitution and subsequently by our code of laws. And we call this the rule of law. So civilian control of the military and the rule of law are both suggest the need for Congress, the president, the Secretary of Defense, the service secretaries, and the military leadership to exercise command of the military in a responsible way.
Mm.
For example, there's a law known as the Posse Comitatus Act, which states that no regular military force may be used to conduct police actions against U.S. citizens. Now, it's more complicated than that. The National Guards are not considered regular military forces, right? So National Guards are exempt from that. And in fact, federal forces have from time to time been employed by the president to conduct civil actions. You can think back to integration of Black students and white students. Right? And so in certain during the civil rights era, this was this this practice became more common than it had prior to that.
Mhm.
So I think those two factors are very important to understand that in the United States we have civilian control of the military, and the military and our government both have to follow the rule of law. So
I think one thing that's confusing about the National Guard is that it's a national. Well, to clarify for me,
yes,
just that,
okay, all right,
but and yet state.
right. So initially, when the Constitution was written, these militias were called state militias, and each state had a militia. And in fact, the belief was that that a state militia was necessary to the existence of a free state, right? And all the states were considered themselves to be free states. Um, the Constitution conglomerated these states under a federal government, but each state felt that it was a free, independent state, and each one had its own militia. When we fought the Revolutionary War, the states united their state militias under the command of General Washington, and they called it the Continental Army. But each regiment had its own state affiliation, and they were state militias, and they still are to this day state militias. Uh, Most commonly, but these state militias now, over time, the rules changed and morphed, and now these state militias can be federalized and used as part of the regular force. So in the case of the Army, that would be the regular Army and the Army Reserve, and the National Guard can be used to supplement those. Um, and likewise, sometimes the federal force can be used to conduct certain civil actions, for example, hurricane relief, right? Things like that. Um, so it's not as clear cut as you would think if you just read the Constitution. A good example would be the Second Amendment to the Constitution, which says something to the effect of a well-regulated militia being necessary to the function of a free state. The rights of American citizens to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So the purpose of the Second Amendment, the reason why Americans were allowed to keep and bear arms was so that they could serve in their state militias.
Hmm. Hmm. That's that's changed.
Yes, I mean that's I mean it does say that the amendment, which has been upheld by the Supreme Court, does say that American citizens have the right to keep and bear arms, and so the determination of the Supreme Court was that even if you don't join your state militia, you still have the right to keep and bear arms. So,
Well, let me ask the next question I have.
Mhm.
Um, we talked a little bit about the need to care for soldiers upon their return from combat.
Mhm.
You can always add, we can always add more to that.
Right. Well, I mean, clearly this hits home for us because we both are related to Uncle Bobby, and so we understand the need for this. And as a district commander for the VFW, I have seen many veterans um, who need that support, and they don't. As a soldier, just as a soldier returning from combat, you wouldn't necessarily know um, what kind of treatment you're entitled to. You might not even realize that you have symptoms of PTSD or certain mental health stresses that come with coming home from combat or even some types of non-combat service. Um, and so it's important to have a community that can help you recognize that, and that might come in the form of your family, or it might come in the form of the VFW. The advantage to the American Legion, the VFW, Disabled American Veterans. There's a large number of organizations out there. Um, the advantage to these organizations is that you're with people who have experienced similar things, and they can help you. If you're in a large group like that, you're likely to find somebody who's able to help you. Some of those members of the Legion and the VFW and the DAV are specially trained to be um, service officers, and they can lead you to the people who are able to help. So they themselves might not be
Yeah.
able to provide you with the help you need, but they can direct you where you need to go. Um, and then even if you're not suffering from any PTSD or suicidal thoughts or anything severe like that, um, they can help you. They can help ensure that you're getting the benefits to which you're entitled. Because I know when I retired from the Army, I had some idea what benefits I was entitled to, but I'm not. I'm not a lawyer. I didn't know all the benefits, and so these people specialize in that kind of thing, and they can help direct you to make sure that you're uh, have the opportunity at least to take advantage of all the benefits that you're entitled to.
Yeah, and we've talked about in previous shows that depending on your demographic or skin color, it was necessarily, especially in the past, information was not given provided to some people of color about some of the benefits, and they were excluded. And um, one of our former guests, Calvin Handy, mentioned that he was lucky to have known what to pursue benefits because it
Mhm.
wasn't shouted out. And he was speaking as a Black man. Um, and that just comes to my mind how, and I do believe the arc of is bending more towards justice, but it takes time and sometimes there's pushbacks. But um, I know in previous shows we've talked about how, yeah, exactly what you're saying. Ask, find someone who will advocate for you if you feel like you're not getting benefits that you totally deserve. That reminds me of one of my other questions. I'm gonna look at my phone because that's where I do a lot of typing. um, let me just I'm just scrolling back a little bit. Well, I know that, I don't know, this might seem obvious to us, but can you just share why you think it's so important that we educate our youth? And also, not just our youth, us. I mean,
Right.
me,
Well,
my peers, so many adults are getting particularly, like, I don't know, baffled, I think, right now, and confused about,
mhm.
wait, is that what the National Guard's supposed to do? Or wait, or if people are wearing camo, are they in the army? Anyway, I would like to hear from you, why it's so important to educate youth and adults about, the role of the military and civics and leadership.
Certainly. So just by way of background, I served in the Army from 1994 to 2018, and I've been a lifelong student. I'm constantly learning in school, and so from that perspective, I think that learning is important. The more knowledge you have, the more uh, tools you have to make critical decisions, and to think critically. Um, and then, of course, after I retired from the Army, I was a student again at the Lutheran Theological Seminary in Gettysburg, and then I became an educator in the public school system. So I think that from that perspective, I do truly believe that it's important to educate young people about the role of the military. And so I'm a junior ROTC instructor. And in that capacity, I teach students about civics and leadership. Um, the JROTC program is open to all boys and girls in high school. And there's no military commitment for participating in JROTC. So unlike senior ROTC in college, where
Yeah.
we're training people to become military officers, in JROTC, we teach leadership and civics, no tactics, where there's no military commitment. Um, and in fact, our battalion commander is a female student, Riley Brebridge, and she is responsible for everything that happens or fails to happen in the battalion. And those include things, lots of skills that you might not even consider, but fundraising, for example, right? But in order to conduct our military ball, we have to raise money. So we have to conduct fundraisers. The cadets, it's a cadet run program, so they plan and execute the fundraisers under the guidance and supervision of Command Sergeant Major Lashendock and me, the two instructors. Um, Recruiting cadets, right? They have to recruit, not recruiting military recruiting, but recruiting students into junior ROTC. Um, Service learning projects. They plan and conduct service learning projects. Um, Veterans appreciation events. So one of the
Mm.
things that the students learn in JROTC is to appreciate what the veterans in the community have done. And so they do that by interacting with veterans and talking to them and uh, performing color guards at ceremonies. And they get to learn something about what these veterans have done
Mhm.
and learn to appreciate their service. Um, Continuous improvement. So one of the things we do in JRTC is we every year we want the battalion to be better than it was the year before. So we're constantly looking at how we can improve. Um, and then Cadet Brebridge, as the battalion commander, is the spokesperson for our battalion, and so in that capacity, she has been out to visit a VFW representatives from the Disabled American Veterans and an organization known as the Military Order of the Cooties, which is a group of people that provides encouragement and support to veterans who are in the hospital. Um, and through all of this, the cadets learn the role of the military. So they learn to appreciate the role of the military in American society.
Mm.
So what the military does, why it exists, um, and so we know that most of the cadets in JROTC are not going to graduate from high school and join the military. But uh, at but they will graduate from high school with an appreciation for the role of the military and an
Mm,
understanding of what the military is supposed to do and what the military does and
mm.
how the military is used responsibly under the Constitution and the laws of the United States. So, and when to recognize when that might not be occurring as well, right? I mean, that's the it's one thing to understand how the military is used responsibly. Um, but the reason you would want to know that is so that you could identify if that ever is not happening properly, right?
That's a great segue into some other questions that I'm hearing a lot of students ask,
Mhm.
um, and just to the best of your ability. And some of them are like I went around and asked some adults, like, do you know the average bear person like me?
Mhm.
So and a lot of us were like, well, I don't know. Let me look it up. Let me look it up. And then people are like, well, how do you know that AI answer is correct?
Right.
So the first
Mhm.
one that I heard very recently is ICE a branch of the military? Because there's so much there's a lot of disturbing videos about what ICE is doing in different cities in our country, and I think the roughness of
Mhm.
taking people without identifying themselves or being masked, and so people were like, wait a minute, are they even? How do they fit into the structure?
Right. So the short answer to your question is that ICE is not a part of the Department of Defense. Right. ICE belongs to the Department of Homeland Security, just like the Coast Guard does, for example. Um, now, uh, from here on out, I am more of an expert on the Department of Defense than I am on the Department of Homeland Security. So I'll do the best I can to stick to the facts here. Um, but ICE, which stands for United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement, right,
Mhm.
under the leadership of Acting Director Todd Lyons, was ICE was created after the September 11 attacks. It was created in 2002. Um, it At the time it was a relatively small force, but in 2005, under the so okay, let me back up a second here. So
Sure.
the executive branch of the government, right, under the leadership of the President of the United States, um, is responsible for enforcing the laws that Congress makes. So Congress
Mm.
makes the laws, the president is responsible for enforcing the laws. So some of the tools that the president has to do that are law enforcement, the military, right? Um, so ICE is a law enforcement uh, entity. Uh, Under the leadership of President Trump in 2025, it became the largest and most well-funded federal law enforcement agency in U.S. history. The mission of ICE is to protect America through criminal investigation and enforcing immigration laws to preserve national security and public safety. Okay, so national security and public safety are clearly two functions of the executive branch of the government, and ICE is supposed to facilitate public safety and national security through criminal investigating and enforcing immigration laws. Okay, enforcing the law, that's what the executive branch is supposed to do, enforce the laws that Congress passes. Um,
Right.
so the ICE has two main branches within it. The first is the Homeland Security and Investigations Branch, which is responsible for the disruption of transnational crime and the enforcement and removal operations branch, which is responsible for the deportation of undocumented immigrants.
Thank you. That's I didn't realize that was under two different.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, it's that enforcement and removal ops branch of ICE that receives the most publicity.
Okay. And well, I'm sure there's not a simple yes or no. So this kind of the next question that I keep hearing is it legal? That's the way it's asked for ICE agents to not have a badge, not identify who they are, not say specifically, and to be masked, and also this seems like some are in t-shirts and regular clothes, and some are in camo clothes. I was with students today, being shown videos, and in this sort of a mixed crowd of theoretically ICE agents, some were in like camo clothes, and you can pick up clothes like that at the Goodwill thrift store, but it's confusing because people are like, oh, wait a minute, is the arm is the United States using the Army to do that? It just got so confusing. But I guess the question in there is it legal to not say, identify what agent you're from if you're taking someone, and is that not lacking due process when people are masked and taking people, especially in really kind of rough, sometimes really violent ways?
Yeah. Well, so part of your question is easy to answer, and part of it is not. The question, is it legal to detain people without due process? The answer is clearly no, right? The 14th Amendment to the Constitution says that all American citizens are entitled to due process. So that part of your question is easy to answer. The question about whether it's legal to dress in a camouflage military style uniform, that is more difficult, or whether it's legal to mask your face. I don't know the answer to that. Based on what I know about more regular police operations, police officers generally identify themselves. They have a badge. They wear a uniform. In the military, we wear a uniform, and in fact, if we're captured, we are required to provide our name and service identification number and date of birth to our captors. So it seems to me like you should have to identify yourself, but I don't know. I know that there's a federal law against impersonating a military officer. I don't know if there's a law. I don't think, in fact, I know there's not a law that against impersonating a military person in general. So, like, if you wanted to go buy a camouflage uniform and walk around town in it, it's not illegal. But in the course of performing your official federal duties, I don't know. I would think not, but I without the legal education required there, I can't say definitively no. It seems wrong to me, but I can't say that I don't know whether it's illegal.
Yeah, I just think what's painful for not just the students, but all of us, is to see like the lack of due process. It's just very disillusioning and very concerning. It's not only like intimidating, but it's also very concerning just even to witness. Like, wait, this is America. So that lack of due process is.
I definitely seizing or detaining a person or a person's property without a warrant would be a violation of due process, and that would be against the law. Yeah.
Thank you.
E-
Let me see what else my.
Even then, I just want to caveat and be careful. I mean, clearly a police officer can arrest someone in the act of performing a violent crime without a
Right.
warrant. So I mean, I don't want to say, you know, I'm not a professor of legal studies, so I'm
Right.
just giving you the best answers I can here. But I would not,
Right.
you know, count any of this as being, um,
Mhm.
you know, official. So
Right. And no, yeah, and you're not an attorney and you're not um,
right.
representing a legal attorney. I think it's just helpful to be able to talk out loud about the. I mean, I think just some of it is just acknowledging that people who are not being violent are being taken and not without a warrant, even like from like hospitals or even churches or
Mhm.
um, courtrooms when they're following legal processes to whether it's in a stage of becoming a citizen or people who've lived here for a lot of years paying taxes who don't have criminal history. I think it's just honestly um, it's just hard to justify and help students or friends or neighbors. Well, I think that's why there's so many protests and resistance because I think a lot of people are recognizing, wait a minute, this is not following our laws. There's just a lot of behavior, but I'm not gonna, you don't have to comment on that. I'm just kind of sharing what I'm feeling and seeing around me. I mean, feel free to comment, but that's just more like me commenting.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope that the members of the legal, the judicial branch of our government would be able to, uh, you know, interpret what's going on fairly and put a stop to any activity that is a violation of due process. But I think in the capacity that I'm speaking to you today, I don't think that I'm qualified to
Mhm.
uh, you know, make any judgments about any specific actions. So
No, yeah, I understand. You're not doing that, and you're just pointing out the roles of the branches. We do have a judicial branch, um, who can hopefully make sure or follow follow the situations and help America follow the law.
mhm.
Let's see. I think one other. I think I just have one more question. Um, from what I say are my kids. They're not actually my kids.
Right.
um, let's see. Oh yeah, this relates to the. I was thinking about this when you were talking about the PTSD and um, turning for help. Post service. But I've been thinking about soldiers and like National Guard or Coast, anybody in any branch of the military or working for. And there just needs to be a different mindset right now with ICE. But I worry about soldiers who might be in different circumstances, and I'm not thinking of anything specific right now. But we might be in circumstances where they feel like they're being told to follow an order that they know is illegal.
Mhm.
Um, and then we've had some high-ranking general experts say things like, "You do not have to obey an order that is illegal." But I'm thinking that would be so tough. Like, how could you be a soldier and not follow an order, even if in your heart of hearts you're thinking, "Oh gosh, this isn't legal." I don't
Mhm.
really feel like what's the reality of you having an option or saying, "Oh no, I actually am gonna, talk to so and so, or I'm not gonna participate that." It
Right.
seems to me we have must be people in service who are currently suffering PTSD, and even from that kind of dilemma where you're asked to do something that goes against your values or goes against what you believe is legal.
Right. So, yeah, not only do you not have to follow an order that is illegal or immoral, you, as a soldier, you have an obligation not to follow an
Mm,
order that you know to be illegal or immoral. Um,
hmm,
Now, that's the ethics. The problem is when you encounter an ethical dilemma where any option that you have to choose from requires you to violate part of your moral code. So, okay, do I disobey my order? I think obedience is important, but I also think that do I choose to disobey the order I received? Do I choose to disobey the law? This is where things, and sometimes it's just not it's not entirely clear, right? So I would say that my advice to a soldier or any member of the military would be, don't violate an order if you know that excuse me, don't obey an order if you know it to be illegal or immoral, but you better be doggone sure that it's illegal or immoral. you know I would I would say if there's some ambiguity there and you have the time and the space to do it, then maybe consult with a JAG officer, or or consult with your chain of command, and maybe get a second, get some other opinions. Um, it's a lot easier for a group of people to say, we think that this is wrong and we shouldn't do it, than it is to try to go it alone. So um, it's not straightforward. It's complicated, but yeah, you are required to not obey an order if you know it to be illegal or immoral. The trick is knowing what's illegal and immoral, and being sure, about it. So sometimes you end up in a dilemma where somebody is a sniper is shooting at your platoon from a hospital, and it's illegal to assault a hospital, but you're taking fire from, so what do you do? Do you potentially put patients in the hospital at risk by returning fire to kill the sniper, or do you allow the sniper to continue to pick off members of your platoon? It's either whatever you do, you're going to violate some portion of your moral code, and then in that case, you have to make the best judgment you can. So, um,
that's well put. Yeah, and thank you for clarifying and emphasizing that it's actually illegal to follow an illegal order.
right. Yes.
It's against your orders to follow an illegal order.
Right.
And also I'm thinking about like I guess like National Guard in different cities. I think sometimes it just ha- has, can be extremely uncomfortable if you're asked to do something that you're not actually trained for as well, which I think is currently happening in different arenas. But that could be a whole other show.
Yeah.
Well, I want to give you time. We have about 3 minutes left to just share whatever sort of closing thoughts you have, or anything else you'd like us to know before we have to wrap up.
Yeah. I mean, I would just kind of summarize and say, we live in a society where the military is controlled by civilian authorities. And it's incumbent upon all of us, military and civilian, to employ our military in a responsible way. We operate under the rule of law, so none of us is above the law, regardless of our position or stature. Um, I think it's very important to educate the U.S. citizenry, especially young people, about the role of the military, um, and to teach them some civics and leadership so that they understand how the military is properly employed, what those veterans have gone through, and how they should be treated upon their return, and also to be able to recognize when something is askew. Um, and there are many departments within the executive branch that all serve to help the president enforce the laws. The military is one of them. The law enforcement activities such as the FBI, ICE, the Department of Homeland Security are others. It's a big government with lots of moving parts, and it can get confusing. So if you have the opportunity to educate yourself about it, I would take advantage of that.
That's great. And I want to underscore that if you notice something is askew, like if we're educated, then we can notice something is askew, and then we can call our representatives, and we can talk to other people, and we can build some support to try to right what we see is wrong. I want to just read the number one more time for anybody listening. You can go online for veteranscrisisline.net, or you can call 1-800-273-8255 for anyone who needs to connect to community. Please break isolation. Don't be alone if you're feeling alone. And thank you to all veterans. Thank you to Lieutenant Richard Kassem. Rich Kassem, thank you so much, Lieutenant Colonel. And
thank you, Bahia.
I really appreciate the education you've given me tonight.
It was nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again. And thank you, Rebel, our engineer, and Dean, our producer, and to the listeners and viewers. And please tune in next Wednesday at 8 p.m. on Talk4TV or W4CY.com. And may we all have enriching conversations and educational conversations this week. Good night, friend.